LUKAD journey, we were able to produce 3 webinars and a 3-day virtual conference on September 24 to 26, 20. LUKAD is a Tagalog term for removing coconut wood. On our LUKAD journey, we were able to produce 3 webinars and a 3-day virtual conference on September. LUKAD is the official open access journal of Philippine Normal University, South Luzon, Philippines. It is a peer-reviewed, interdisciplinary, and multidisciplinary journal. The journal seeks to publish research articles, monographs, and book reviews across the different topics, with special emphasis but not limited to the open access journal of Philippine Normal University, South Luzon, Technology and Livelihood Education, Culture and Heritage Education, Critical Pedagogy and Literacy, and local students, monographs, and book reviews across. On our LUKAD journey, we were able to produce 3 webinars and a 3-day virtual conference on September 24 to 26, 2020. LUKAD is a Tagalog term for removing coconut wood through special utensils. The process involves simple to complex methodologies, so coconut meat comes out whole. For more information, you may contact us through the following. LUKAD is a Tagalog term for removing coconut wood through special utensils. The process involves simple to complex methodologies, so coconut meat comes out whole. For more information, you may contact us through the following. LUKAD is a Tagalog term for removing coconut wood through special utensils. The process involves simple to complex methodologies, so
As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to affect the delivery of academic services of educational institutions, PNU South Luzon campus successfully made a collaboration with Commission and Higher Education Region Office 4 to conduct a training workshop on flexible learning for higher education institutions in Quezon Province.
Saknungan sa bagong kadauyan. Training workshop on flexible learning for higher education institutions in Quezon Province.
A coordinative meeting organized by CHED Regional Office 4 led to the creation of CHED Special Committee to work out possible areas of cooperation, arrangement among the higher education institutions in Quezon Province to transition to new normal. One important mechanism to counter the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic is to prepare the teachers to flexible learning through a training workshop that uses blended modalities based on technology affordances.
Philippine Normal University South Luzon as a campus of PNU.
Of cooperation, the National Center for Teacher Education is envisioned to be the technology and livelihood education hub in South Luzon. Its goal is to develop technologically skilled, pedagogically competent, and content-based teachers and specialists that are responsive to the changing context and needs of the society. PNUSL uses LUKAD institutional pedagogy as a way to intertwine copra making and academic instruction, as peg in research, as guidepost in extension, and as partner in production, thus strengthening the PNU mission of nurturing innovative teachers and education leaders. Saknungan sa bagong kadauyan. Training focus is on flexible pedagogical practices, academic dialogue on trends and issues of flexible learning, course learning toolkit, and training course pack. Objectives of training modules. Opening module. Conduct synchronous plenary opening program. Module 1. Play messages through pre-recorded videos. Discuss and interact on the need for institutional migration. Hold workshop briefing. Module 2. Discuss workshop outputs. Play messages through pre-recorded videos. Discuss and interact on the module and its significance to flexible learning. Hold workshop briefing. Module 3. Discuss workshop outputs. Play messages through pre-recorded videos. Discuss and interact on assessment and monitoring of learning. Challenges in online modality. Closing module. Conduct synchronous plenary closing program. The training strategies. The actual training days will be on October 15 to 17, where participants meet synchronously to ensure virtual presence and maximum participation. All messages are in the form of pre-recorded videos in order to counter the threat of power interruptions and connectivity problems. Speakers shall be virtually present in order to interact with the participants during the synchronous plenary sessions. There shall be FGD through Zoom breakout sessions by discipline. Workshops shall be done through offline asynchronous modality and check the next day.
LUKAD is the official open access journal of Philippine Normal University, South Luzon, Philippines. It is a peer-reviewed, interdisciplinary, and multidisciplinary journal. To publish research articles, monographs, and book reviews across the different topics, with special emphasis but not limited technology and livelihood education, culture and heritage education, critical pedagogy and literacy, and local history. On our LUKAD journey, we were able to produce 3 webinars and a 3-day virtual conference on September 24 to 26, 2020. LUKAD is a Tagalog term for removing coconut meat through special utensils. The process involves simple to complex methodologies, so coconut meat comes out whole. For more information, you may contact us through the following. LUKAD is the official open access journal of Philippine Normal University, South Luzon, Philippines. It is a peer-reviewed, interdisciplinary, and multidisciplinary journal. The journal seeks to publish research articles, monographs, and book reviews across the different topics, with special emphasis but not limited to the following: technology and livelihood education, culture and heritage education, critical pedagogy and literacy, and local history. On our LUKAD journey, we were able to produce LUKAD is the official open access journal of Philippine Normal University South Luzon, Philippines. It is a peer-reviewed, interdisciplinary, and multidisciplinary journal. The journal seeks to publish research articles, monographs, and book reviews across the different topics, with special emphasis but not limited to the following: technology and livelihood education, culture.
Bayang magiliw, pero sa silangan, alaalaw ng puso, sa itig mo'y buhay. Lupang minirang, duyan ka ng magiging, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisihil, sa nagkakapundok, sa simoya, sa langit papaga, may nilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidinig. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidinig. Lupa ng araw ng ating pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Sa piling mo, ang ligaya ng pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
One research study published in Taylor and Francis titled Towards a Philosophy of Academic Publishing. For academic institutions, academic publication in high-quality journals is a vehicle for improving the ranking and standing of the institution. For an academic, it is the means by which research grants are obtained and promotion secured.
I welcome you all in this afternoon's LUKAD Research and Journal Management Capability Strategic Planning 2021 series, focusing on the philosophy of academic publishing.
So this program is actually designed and intended into three reasons. Number one is to capacitate faculty members and LUKAD editorial board for journal management and research writing and dissemination. And the number two is we wanted to strengthen and cultivate a strong and sustainable research culture. And we wanted to really increase our research production that had really a great impact to the community.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much. First of all, thanks for your lovely introduction, Brenda. Thank you and congratulations, Rodrigo. It's great to see you. I wish I could be there with all of you in the Philippines. I'm going to talk about the philosophical aspects of academic publishing on a personal level and on a professional level. Right, because a journal consists of articles primarily. That's what most of a journal is the articles and the people who write the articles. So we're the people who write the articles. Academic career and your goals in publishing as an unfinished story and a kind of cycle that goes around over time.
The university, it's about the inclusion of research, also extension, and production.
Glad to have you with us this sunny morning. Today's webinar is titled Research Management, which is part of the series on the LUKAD Research Journal and Management Capability Program 2021.
Administrators at PNU, South Luzon, fellow professors, academics, and fellow researchers. And good morning also to my collaborator. Way to teach research is to do research with your students. You cannot teach research by saying step 1, step 2, step 3, then do this. Do this. The best way is to do the conceptualization, do the planning, check the progress of the data gathering. Told me this, okay? You are now a college administrator. I was the research director of CLA, but she told me, do not forget your research output, your research projects, because one day you're an administrator, but another day you are no longer an administrator.
In our conversation with Professor Jackson during our first webinar on philosophy of academic publishing, we realized the difference between research writing and journal management. As a teacher education institution aspiring to be a research teacher education university, we find it imperative to have our journal as our avenue in digitization, diversification, and decentralization of knowledge production and research.
Started out as a manager, managing ed. So let me begin by going through the scope or coverage that you want to take up as a journal. So multidisciplinary, of course, are the publication dates going to be optimal for the people involved? Publish papers from people such as undergraduate or graduate students. Will it also accept external submissions from other institutions, or is it an internal type of
website of the Philippine National Philosophical Research Society. Now, our editorial board, what is the composition of the journal, appointed me as the associate editor of the journal, with the view of really, as Dr. Arti mentioned, of training me to handle the journal. Okay, so this is a non-stock, non-sectarian, non-profit society whose advocacy is just to make philosophy, to promote philosophy as an academic discipline and as an instrument in nation building.
We've never charged any processing fee since 2007 and until today.
Because, like for example, somebody submitted on Arab philosophy. I know the paper is good. I know the paper is good. I have to find an expert on Arab philosophy. And sad to say, I have to let it go because I don't have a viewer for
Claims lang, okay? The website doesn't have to be aesthetically pleasant. The website doesn't have to have all the fancy features. It just needs all the regular content that you want to see in a journal. Going to give you a lot of space and a very good amount of bandwidth. And meron ding redundancy yan. So that's why I strongly also recommend not running the entire site within the Philippines. The IT infrastructure in the Philippines is not very good. We don't have a lot of data centers here. Those data centers abroad have redundant power backup systems and
isang maalab na pagbati mula sa Timog Katagalugan. Welcome to our webinar on Pathway to Research Publication.
Our resource speaker for today's webinar is currently an assistant professor in the College of Graduate Studies and Teacher Education Research at the Philippine Normal University.
Na i-connecta ito sa aking paboritong kanta. Evidence na ang pamagat ay bawat daan. Sa pagkupas ng iyong kamay, aking landas, kinagabay. Tinutukoy dito, particularly sa pagsulat, ang naging hugot ko dito ay ang paghahanap ng mentor o gagabay, no? Pagkatapos magpahinga, mag-recharge. Pagkatapos mag-recharge, laban ulit. Parang dead end na or walang light at the end of the tunnel. However, sa prosesong ito, kinakailangan mahawakan lalo natin yung paniniwala natin na hindi, kaya natin yan pagtatagumpayan ito.
Magandang araw po sa ating lahat. Isang malugod na pagbati po sa lahat ng mga kalahok ng webinar na ito, Editors Collective on Journal Management. Kumusta po kayong lahat? Ngayong katatapos lang ng ECQ, sana po ay nasa mabuti kayong kalagayan, pati na ang inyong mga mahal sa buhay. Ako nga pala si Binibining Cheryl Hachero, ang inyong tagapagdaloy sa webinar na ito. Isa po ito sa serye ng LUKAD Research and Journal Management Capability Workshops taong kasalukuyan. At hindi na po natin patatagalin para po sa formal na pagsisimula ng ating webinar, pakinggan po natin ang Editor-in-Chief ng LUKAD Journal sa kanyang pambungad na pananalita. Bigyan po natin ng virtual na palakpakan si Professor Reynald M. Cacho.
Hello, good morning. Is my audio clear?
Yes, sir.
Cheryl? Yep, all right.
Yes, sir.
Yep, magandang umaga sa lahat. First, welcome to another edition of our training as part of LUKAD Journal Series. I'd like to correct, I'm the co-editor. The primary editor-in-chief here is Dr. Rodrigo Avenes, our Dean for Academics at PNU South Luzon. And of course, South Luzon is headed or led by our Executive Director and Provost, Dr. Ruel B. Abila, along with our campus officials.
This has been, if you have seen the teaser earlier, the videos before we start the program formally, you would be some of you would be surprised to see that we have gone a long way. And the journal that we are trying to come up in PU South Luzon as its very first is actually at the stage of embryonic stage, and later on, hopefully, we will have to have our first online publication in the month to come. At the moment, we have been receiving. We're waiting for some reviews from our referees, and we are uh, still learning the process on how to manage the journal. And along the way, while learning, we are also sharing this experience from our colleagues, not just in TNU, but in other institution. Kasama na rito ang partners namin, ang viewers, participants from DepEd. I can see some of participants from DepEd and of course other universities. We're very happy to record this, to have this kind of learning professional development with our editorial board in the way, helping us, and of course our the authors who have trusted and who are very patient working with us, so we can have quality papers published in an efficient and in a more effective manner. Of course, we are truly blessed this morning to have our resource person, one of PNU leading expert, nationally recognized in different areas, especially in science education. I know she will be introduced later. Thank you so much for being with us. And for the participants, please go on. We have a lot of series available, recordings of different trainings, and this is also recorded for future use and for your personal use also as you go on managing your own journal, and we in LUKAD Journal managing our own. And of course, we're open, very much open for future collaboration, partnership, and of course training. And hopefully we can have a very sustainable journal in the many issues and years to come. All right, thank you so much. Ma'am Cheryl, I give you back the floor.
Okay, maraming salamat po, sir. Sa punto pong ito ay maaari ko bang hilingin sa inyo na pakibukas po ng inyong mga video para po magkaroon tayo ng picture taking. Sir Josh?
Yes po.
Manatili lang po tayong nakangiti para po sa picture.
Meron pa pong 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 na hindi naka-open. Okay na po.
Okay na po ba?
Oh, wait lang po, ma'am. May hindi pa po. Mag-open pa po kaya yung iba. May hindi pa po naka-open.
Okay lang siguro, sir. Baka kung gusto nila na wag mag-open, kung may picture, okay lang siguro po.
Kasi po, 1, 2, 3. Another 1. 1, 2, 3. Okay na po.
Okay na po ba?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, maraming salamat po sa inyo. Kitang-kita po sa ating mga mukha na handang-handa na tayo para sa isa na namang makabuluhang panayam mula sa isang dalubhasa, lalo na pagdating sa paglalathala ng pananaliksik. At para po may pakilala ang ating tagapanayam sa araw na ito, narito po ang Associate Editor ng LUKAD Journal, Binibining Claudine Alhambra.
Maraming salamat, ma'am. We are honored to have with us our speaker this morning. She is a full professor at the Philippine Normal University and the director of the Publications Office that manages 3 journals. She has been confirmed a regular member of the National Research Council of the Philippines, or NRCP, and a recipient of the National Research Council of the Philippines Achievement Award in 2019 for Division 1, Governmental, Educational, and International Policies. She is also the current chair of the said division. Her research interests focus on science education, cultural studies in science education, indigenous knowledge, STEAM, TPAC, and gender education and participatory action research. Trained in the field of science education, particularly physics, her service has been dedicated to her advocacy of helping the country produce 21st century skilled Filipinos through quality science education. Researches she has conducted geared towards this advocacy are well accepted locally and globally as per citations of these works, commendations for her research products like the news and interviews on the invention of La Mesa, and invitations of peers and other scholars for sharing and disseminating knowledge in the discipline. She has had keynote speakership, resource speakership, peer reviews in ISI and Scopus Index journals, and author of a chapter of an edited book published by Wiley sorry. The recently concluded CHED-funded research, TPAC in Philippines team defined her being knowledgeable in her field and her capability to manage a team from project conception to completion. The projects she has engaged to and will be engaging to focus on delivering better STEAM curriculum like CHED K-12 transition, mass training of physics teachers for K-12 implementation, and educating science teachers for all, which is a European Union project. Dear participants, let us all welcome with a virtual applause Marie Paz E. Morales. Welcome, ma'am.
Hello, good morning. Thank you very much, Mom Claudine, and of course, Mom Cheryl. Good morning to all the participants, especially to our officials, Dr. Cacho, Dr. Abenes, and of course, the Provost and Executive Director, Dr. Roel Villa. So for today, we'll be talking about how we manage in the publication office of our university. So most of my discussions and sharing with you will be about our experiences in the unit. So may I share my slide po? So for today, we'll take a look at the following. Some history on the journals that we are managing, a virtual tour on the website that we have, and different journals. We have people, how do we screen, initial screening, how do we review, or how do we conduct the review process, how do we implement the editorial review and proofreading, and how do we disseminate and share all published articles. And how do we maintain the entire publication unit? And let me give some background also on the online journal system that we are using. Okay, so for the first part, let's take a look at the history of the three journals that we have. The first journal is the very own journal of the Philippine Normal University. This is the Normal Lights. So this particular journal is once a part of what we call CREDE. CREDE is Center for Research and Educational Development, something like that. Okay, it's not the EPRDC that we know now, but before we termed it as CREDE. Okay, they outsource an editor-in-chief in the person of Dr. Venancio Menjola. Okay, and the managing editor is one of the faculty researchers of CREDE, now known as EPRDC, okay, Professor Maria Victoria Hermosissima. So that was how the Normal Lights started. But there was a deeper history behind the scene where the Normal Lights is part of CREDE. That I am not really familiar of, but from accounts of Dr. Menzola, I think they were the ones who started this together with Dr. Ochave. Okay. The first official publication is a print material that happened that was issued in 2007, and then CREDE applied for its accreditation to CHED. That was in 2013. And after being accredited for a year, 2014, we started out with a different organizational structure. And so the normal lights was transferred and to Segister. Okay, so Segister houses two areas of research and publication. So for research, Greso handles that, and for all the publications of supposedly the outputs of the students will be published by the normal lights. So that was the first intention in 2014. But since it's a SHED accredited journal, in 2015, I was assigned to man or manage the publication office. So it's not the journal. Actually, it's the entire publication office. But the publication office only manages one journal then. So that was in 2015 and 2014. The VP for research, planning, and quality assurance that time, it was Dr. Wilma Reyes, talked to me about improving the quality of the journal and having it indexed in some indexing companies or organizations for it to be recognized as a good avenue for sharing the researches of faculty and staff and students. So in 2015, I tried looking for a way of putting it online. It's because of the fact that most indexing require that your journal be open access and have its own online journal system. So that's the very first requirement for being indexed. Okay, so I had to source some ways on how to bring it on the internet world. So the next thing after doing this online open access in 2015, we had applied for the CHED Journal Incentive Program. I know you have heard this from the previous speakers that we have, that you had. Okay, so we were classified as journal incubation because we were not indexed in any indexing yet. Okay, not like the editor-in-chiefs that you have invited, the journals that they are managing are already part of the Web of Science or the Scopus. Okay, then after being indexed to or being part of the journal incentive program, we are receiving certain amount. But as mentioned by one of the editors, I think the editor of Philosophia mentioned that we only received 1 year of the grant. It was supposed to be 3-year grant, and then we can move on to applying to a new program for additional grants. However, it was put on hold by CHED due to we don't know actually. Okay, so until now we are waiting for any signs that they will continue the program and that they will be asking us for some liquidation after the program. Okay. Then in 2016 to 2017, we launched our application to the ASEAN Citation Index. And so luckily we are approved, and this is our ticket towards submission to Scopus indexing. However, I think we are not yet very ready for that. So we are trying to do some things in the publication unit of the university so that later on we can become part of the Scopus list. Okay, so that's for the normal lights. We have a FERJ. The history of a FERJ is it is the official journal of the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium. Philippine Normal University is one of the founders of the PHRC. So this was then named as PASUK NCR. So some state universities in NCR had this consortium, and they put up the journal, which they named as Asia Pacific Higher Education Research Journal. Its first publication was in 2014. The sources of articles here are from the conferences that they usually conduct yearly. So they have an annual conference, and so for the researchers to have an avenue for them to publish and disseminate their research outputs, they created or set up the uh, the average. Okay. Luckily, since the university came up with a publication office, the vice president then, Wilma Reyes, mentioned that it has to be housed in the publication office. Okay, so we applied. This is an international journal, and we applied for IT in 2018. However, it's on hold. That's the reason why we have not received any response yet from CHED in regard its evaluation. So what we did was to apply for other indexing. There is an existing indexing known as what's that? Andrew Gonzalez, no? Philippine Citation Indexing. This is by De La Salle. It was a project with CHED. So we are now trying to come up with a new collection because our materials which we submitted to CHED was not so updated because that was in 2018. We have new articles, new reviews, etc. So we're trying to collate and compile all our materials so that we can submit. We are hoping that we can launch our submission by May or by June this year. Okay. So that's the first. And the third journal that we have is the Aston Journal of Teacher Education. So this is the official journal of Aston, and its first publication is because it's also owned by an international organization. And I am not the editor-in-chief here. I am the managing editor of the journal, and the editor-in-chief is usually assigned to the host institution or the host country. The then host country was Singapore, and so the assigned editor-in-chief is Dr. Lim Kang. However, after some time that we have been publishing some issues of Aston, the Aston organization seemed to have a good impression of the editorial team. So they retained the editorial team, retaining Dr. Lim Kang as the editor-in-chief and me as the managing editor of the journal. So those are our three journals. Now, the publication office does not only house the three journals. Okay, so it's quite different from the ones that you have heard from the sharings of the other speakers that you have invited. They are editor-in-chiefs of particular journals. In our case, we have a publication office housing all the journals, and I manage the entire unit. Okay, so the publication office. Now let's take a look at the entire unit. No, so let's have a virtual tour. This is our. I cannot bring you to our office. Our office is just small, but we have a good site where we can probably identify many of the resources that you would want. Okay. So this is our website. It's not very fancy, fanciful. It's very, very simple. I just only wanted people to take a look at what our office is. So this is the description of our office. You can contact us by clicking this section. This is all about us. So we can have a drop-down menu here, and then all the things that you need will probably lead you to those parts. No, I think Sir Rod has shared to me the website also of LUKAD, and LUKAD's website is very neat. It has a lot of information that you would be needing. Okay, so this is quality policy, etc. The thing is, we crafted the website so that in case of occasions like, we crafted this in 2015. In case of occasions like we cannot give you copies of the materials, we'll just load the website, and everything that you need to see as an accreditor, as an internal auditor, or as auditor in ISO, you will be able to access. Okay, so the good thing is we were able to envision that in 2015, and so when we were conducting accreditations and even virtual ISOs. We were ready. The mission, vision, our internal structure. So you would notice the internal structure was designed years back. So this was 2015. I designed this one. Wala po akong tao noong mga panahong yon. I only had one secretary. So that was very difficult for me because I have to do all the work. Okay. So this is the publication. This is what I envisioned during that time that I conceptualized the internal structure. I presented this as a proposal to the VP for Research Planning and Quality Assurance. And then later on, I have to source funds to be able to place some people here, okay? Or I have to source ways to be able to place some people. Yeah. So we have here textbooks, okay? But I had it discarded because that's actually the part where PBDO has to cover. Okay, so hindi ko na po yan pinursue. Although we try to communicate because before you can submit or request for copyright or ISBN, the National Library would require you to request a recommendation from our unit. So probably this is that part, okay? And so basically the entire structure of the publication office is this one. We have 3 journals. I am supposed to request for 3 managing editors for this and 1 managing editor or or staff for the online journal system. So instead of having physical books, I intended to have everything in e-copies, okay? And I would have a support staff. I did not envision then that I would be, or the unit would be, the administrator of the anti-plagiarism software of the university. So I did not place it here, okay? So this is our internal structure. Okay, you can also see the publication staff. For the publication staff, since this changes every now and then, I did not place, or I did not ask the Roxanne. Roxanne is the one who helped me in putting up everything. Okay, I did not Roxanne to place here some pictures and profile of the director, the staff, and so on. What we did was to place the terms of reference. So it was very helpful during the time when we were doing the ISO and the accreditation. Pag tinanong na, anong trabaho ng director? So we go to the website. Here is the term of reference of the director. This is the term of reference for the managing editors and so on. Okay, so that's all about us. Then we go to the entire office. So we have an overview, we have the current issues and some announcements. So those are the things that you can find on the drop-down menu for publication office. Then for the journals, I was able to source online PKP application. So I tried studying the entire PKP system so that I'll be able to have open source softwares to be able to use in the publication office. So I was able to have the online journal system. So working with MIS, specifically Roxanne, we were able to put up the online systems for the 3 journals. So we have 1, 2, 3. This one will lead you to those of you who have submitted and have published here. You are familiar with this platform or interface, okay? So the original OJS only includes the home, the about, the login, the register, the search, the current, the archive, some announcements, and online submission. All the rest are some addition to the original setup for the online journal system. Okay, so here this is one section. What I did was to have almost the same standard, so that we will not be taking a look at different standards from one journal to another, only that they differ in focus. Okay, yeah, so you have the average. This one is a multidisciplinary journal. Okay, so medyo mabagal po ang aking net. Pasensya na. And of course, our Aston journal. And so those are the three journals that we have. Okay, so the interface are basically the same so that you would not get lost. So ibig sabihin, pag alam nyo na, kabisado nyo na how to move around from one tab to another or from one menu to another in the normal lights, it would be easy for you to go to the menus of the other journals. Okay, and then after some time in 2017, I was able to, I think having the journals is not enough for a publication. No, I mean a publication unit. When you say publication, it has to cover a lot. Okay? As mentioned in the teaser and the videos that I was listening to a while ago, Sir Rod is planning to put up some parts in the website where you can access different resources other than the journal articles. Okay, that's what I thought of in 2017, and so I was able to source another online open source software. Okay, so it's free. It's known as the Open Monograph Public Publishing. Okay, so that's what I used in the online commons. So in setting up the online commons, we only consulted Roxanne, but mainly the task was assigned to our web editor. Okay, so this is the online commons, which is only available for our PNU students. The reason behind would be mentioned later on. Okay, so most of you who are PNU students in the graduate school, probably you have access this one. So we have a lot of resources here, more than 1,000. Okay, okay. So going back, the clamor of many researchers who also send us email and send us messages through our Facebook page is that they cannot access some other resources other than the journal articles in our website. So what we did was to collaborate with EPRDC so that the products, some of the products of EPRDC to which the writers and the researchers are willing, if the researchers are willing, they can upload or they can ask us to upload certain materials which can be open access. Okay, so this can be free access, I mean. So it can be downloaded, searched by all other people, even if they are not enrolled as students of the Philippine Normal University. So we placed it as or under research resources. So here we have conference proceedings. We have some of the products of different research, like the one that we had in TPAC. That's one. This one is by Dr. Mardine Balagtas, and some videos where you can access also to be able to take a look at some of the features of the publication unit. Okay. We also place some related links. Okay. Here you can have a link for DepEd, CHED, link to all the CHED accredited journals, and then the Philippine journals, and then the university portal. And we have the downloadable forms. And of course, we have also here as a new addition to the entire website, part for the authenticity software. Okay, so that we can lead our students and some of our faculty to some of these resources which they can access, which would give them some idea on how to set up an account. How else? What subject? Okay, subject papers to Turnitin and so on. Okay, so at least this probably is a good addition to this part, and you can access and follow the procedures to be able to subject your manuscript to Turnitin. Okay, so this is our website. So if you take a look at the normal lights, here you can see different parts or different menu. You have the about, and that would include a lot of things. Okay, so these are the inclusions. Okay, they are clickable, so you can go from one item to another. You have the focus and scope, you have the publication ethics, you have online submission, etc. Okay. We placed here the author guidelines so that it would be easy for the authors to take a look at the guidelines of the journal in relation to how to prepare their manuscript. We placed here also because some of our clients or our readers and those who intended to submit are not very familiar with the online system during the first few years. So what we did was to come up with a one tab or one menu. And here we uploaded a presentation which they can follow when they want to register, when they want to submit. Okay, there. So at least we will not be repeating our emails over and over again. Okay, so that's how the beauty of having an online journal system. Okay? It automates everything. We have the quality policy as this, of course, dictated by ISO. Okay, our call for reviewers, etc. Okay, so the same thing is placed in the two other journals, only that they differ in editorial board, editorial team, and some other parts, specifically the focus and scope. So this is the editorial team of the Normal Lights. So we have the editorial board. Okay, the associate editors, and we have a long list of reviewers. Okay. Yeah. So that's the presentation. And it was if we can answer questions, I can move forward. These are people, so you would mention all. Okay, you can see on the title, it's a BOR document. Okay.
Dr. Paz?
So everything in the publication office has to be, yes po.
Ma'am, I think your line has a problem. Siguro
I
data-wise.
heard po,
Yan,
mahina,
yan.
mahina po
Yan.
kasi ang net ko.
Ma'am,
I
you can
just
turn
stop
off
my
the video, ma'am.
video.
Yes, ma'am. Yan. Okay po. Sige, ma'am. Para to make sure the data is sustainable.
Yes po.
Sige, ma'am.
Okay
Go
na
ahead, ma'am.
po.
Sorry to interrupt po.
I'll just video. Okay, sige po. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So thank you, sir. As I have mentioned, as I was mentioning, the publication office, and then we were transferred to Register. Then when our journals have been indexed, one of the journals have been indexed in ACI and SHED, we were transferred to under the wings of VP RPQA domain. Okay, so we register anymore. We're part of the VP RPQA domain. This one, probably I can open the other.
I think we lost Dr. Paz, the connection.
Hello po, nakabalik na po.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
Welcome back, ma'am. Welcome back.
Medyo mahina. Opo, medyo mahina po ang aking connection for today. Pasensya na po. Okay, so going fact, we're discussing people. So in the journals that we are managing, advisory board and the editor-in-chief, and of course our peer reviewers, and we have the editorial team that is composed of the editor-in-chief, the associate editors, managing editors, web editors, layout and cover design editor. So these are the materials I linked to this particular slide. You can see since the publication office is a unit in the university, we have to follow all the protocols of the university. And so everything has to be BOR approved. So you can see here the unit follows this particular BOR resolution. This is 2632. Okay, this defines the fees that we normally provide the different personnel. Okay, before, when, as I have mentioned, the normal lights is part of CREDE, and they outsourced Dr. Menjola as the editor-in-chief. So you would notice that the editor-in-chief before was paid 15,000 per volume. Okay. However, as I proposed last time, this was in 2017, so before being approved, we retained the author fees. This is supposed to be author referees. Okay, that's correct. 3,000 per article. The source of this is a benchmarking that I did to all the Philippine journals which are already part of the journal incentive program. So all of them are usually sending or providing author referees local. Okay, 3,000 per article. Okay, there was no fee before. Okay, I don't know if this is the director of the publication, if that's really the fee, but I just sourced this from the old rate, okay? But then what I proposed last time was a designation. So I am designated as the publication office director, and I don't receive a fee. Instead, I am not allowed to teach, okay? I only teach 1 to 2 courses for my extra work, okay? Extra teaching load, okay? Consultant and editorial board, they are not paid. Okay, the editor-in-chief, I ensured that this would happen so that the university will not be incurring more expenses in terms of publication of issues. So ang gusto ko sana makatipid yung university, no? So I saw to it that being the director would also mean you being the editor-in-chief of the normal lights. So this is also part of my job as the director of the publication office. For the assistant editor-in-chief, I don't have this. So there's none. Associate editor, we still have that. So I retain the 4,000 per volume, okay? Maximum of 2 editors per volume, okay? And then we have the managing editor. So we have this as a regular or a contractual employee of the publication office. So this has to be sourced, the fee for this has to be sourced from STF of the university, meaning I need to contribute to the STF of the university so that we can pay for the contractual employee. Okay. For the staff, the same thing, regular or contractual employee. I had several communications with HR. I am requesting for additional staff. However, they only was able to provide me with 1 regular. So that's the reason why all my staff are all on a job order basis or contractual employees. We have layout artists, and the layout artist is outsourced. So we pay 3,000 per issue for the layout, and the cover design is 1,500. The web editor is also a regular or a contractual employee, and the language editor is supposedly 10,000. But right now we're not inviting a language editor. Instead, we ask the authors to to submit an edited version of their papers. Okay, so this is the BOR resolution for the fees and the designations. Okay, so for the editorial team, this is the editorial team and the board. Okay, and the pool of reviewers. And this is again the term of reference of the staff. Okay, so instead po na honorarium basis, mahirap po kasing gumalaw kung honorarium din lahat. Ano? I need to have people who are full-time in the job because we're not only managing one journal. Yeah, so that's the reason why I had it approved by the BOR. Okay. So that's for the people. Okay, so we move on. We have some general tasks. So the advisory board, they assist me in terms of decision making. Specifically, I request them to check the final list of the articles that we will be publishing in a particular issue. So as the editor-in-chief, I do the initial technical review that would include the manuscript readability, submission focus, originality of the manuscript, format and style, adherence to journal guidelines. So for me, not to be able to get out of focus whenever I do the initial technical review, I sourced some resources and came up with a checklist. So the checklist is part of the forms of the publication office. Okay. Then after the peer review, that's the time that I get to see again the manuscript. I also input some reviews together with the peer reviews of the external reviewers invited. And then we submit that we give that back to the author in case there needs to be revision by the authors. After that, after the revision, then it's between me and the author. The communication will be between me and the author. So I do the editorial review. Or sometimes I ask some of our associate editors to do the editorial review, specifically for articles written in Filipino. Okay, and then for the proofreading, I do that too before the final uploading of the manuscripts. Okay. Our associate editors are to conduct initial review as requested. So I think last Monday I received a submission, and this is all about federalism. You know that my area of specialization is science education, and most probably I cannot give a good initial review on the content. I can only do the readability, originality, not so much, but the format and style and adherence to the journal guidelines, I can do that. So I asked one of the associate editors of the Normal Lights, who is probably well-versed on that field, federalism, kasi po yun. Hindi ko yun alam masyado. Ano po? I only read news articles about that. Okay, so I asked for the expertise of that particular associate editor. Provides experts and peer reviewers. So let's say, for example, Filipino, mahina po tayo sa mga kakilala sa Filipino, di ba? We need to have people from that field who can refer us to other experts in that field. Okay, they help me in deciding on publishing the manuscript or not, and they provide the reviewers review. Okay, so they review the reviewers review. Okay. The last part is basically part of an ISO procedure. So basically, since our external reviewers are our external providers, ISO protocols require that the unit source out evaluation of external services provided by external providers. Okay, that's the reason why we crafted the review checklist. And so we annually conduct a workshop on reviews of reviewers' review. Okay, and so the managing editor, she or he, tracks all submissions. We use Google Sheets and some applications like Asana to help us in this regard. She also helps in identifying possible reviewers. Although I have one managing editor, all my staff work together in looking for a lot of experts in the field of education. So they source out reviewers, and then they send them to me or to the associate editors to check whether the specialization or expertise of that particular source reviewer will fit a particular manuscript. Okay, and then the managing editor also communicates with the author. So those are the general tasks of the different roles that you have: advisory board, editor-in-chief, associate editors, and the managing editors. For the web editor, we have a web editor who manages the entire online system and all the social media accounts of the publication office, including the website of the publication office. This is also in consultation with MISO, specifically Sir Roxanne. Okay? She also runs the plagiarism in tandem with the Turnitin administrator. Okay, and then we have the layout and design editor. This is outsourced from our press. He does the format and layout of all the articles and the issues. Okay, in the publication office, we don't do that. We can only design PubMat, which are uploaded to our Facebook page. Okay, he also designs the cover or the cover design per issue. Okay, so those are the jobs of our web editor and the layout and design editor. Okay, so those are the people within our unit. So for the journal processes, okay, we have this as the entire procedure, and that is documented in, I cannot access anyway, that's documented in one of our procedure manuals. Again, this is a documented procedure as part of the ISO process. Okay, so we have call for submission, we record and track the submission, we conduct the initial review. So usually I conduct the initial review as the editor-in-chief. Okay, and then that goes on to whether it's a reject or accept, okay, or revise. Okay, if it's a reject, we keep a copy of that, but we keep a copy of that until the maximum number of years required by DCMT. Okay. For the revised, requiring revision, of course, we need to communicate with the author in regard the revision requirement as per initial review. If it is okay, I mean the initial review, the manuscript is really well written, we can proceed right away to the external review, external or peer review process. However, before we do that, we have to ensure that our authors are dedicated authors and that they will be able to complete the publication process. We had several issues before. We had submissions reaching until the editorial decision, and then before it is published, okay, the authors retract the article. So it's not very fair to the journal because the journal has already identified and requested peer reviewers to review. So it's already, the journal has already invested a lot of time. The peer reviewers invested time also. If they are local reviewers, the journal pays them, okay? And then after some time, the authors retract. So hindi namin gusto yon, ano? The reason why I placed a particular step after the initial review, we require authors to submit to us a commitment form, signed commitment form. Okay, so that would ensure that the authors would really complete the publication process. And then we go to external peer review. So this one is highlighted so I can access the procedure manual for the peer review. Okay. Okay, so from the peer review, we have 3 decisions coming from the different reviewers. So we have revision with major or minor, accept or reject. Okay, so that's the usual decision that we receive. But since the indexing bodies to which the normal lights is indexed require that each article has to be reviewed by at least two reviewers, two peer reviewers, then we need to have a consolidated review or a summary of the review. The summary of the review is prepared by the managing editor, and I check and place some inputs on the consolidated review, and I place a decision whether to accept the revise or ask the author to revise or reject the manuscript. We usually have that in the editorial decision form. Okay, so this is the process or the procedure. You're familiar with this if you have undergone ISO procedures. And so this was first issued in 2017. Okay, so there's some definition of term, the entire procedure. There. We this review process. So may busisi po yung mga susundin, ano? Pero nandyan po lahat para at least sumunod na mag-manage ng public, everything is in place. This is part of having the unit as soon as possible. Okay? And that the stand passed on and the technology can Sorry po ulit, I'm back po ulit. So may I share my screen po again? Can you hear me po?
Yes, ma'am. Okay po.
Yes po.
Okay po. Saan po ba ako natapos at nawala?
I think you are on that slide, ma'am. Review process.
Ano po, sir?
Review process and
Review process.
And the editorial decision making, I think.
Okay, editorial decision, yes. So before the editorial decision, let me share with you our process in the university the publication office. This is the one we usually exhibit during ISO audit. So this is the procedure, okay, from the start until the end of the review process, which is only part of the SOP, the entire review process or the journal process. This is the entire review process. I am only showing you the external review, okay? So this is the part where we have the external review. After the external review, we source around 2 to 3 reviewers per article as per the guidelines of ASEAN Citation Index and Journal Incentive Program, Journal Incubation. So we usually 3 different peer reviewers. So each review will be accepted, revised, or rejected. And since they are 2 or 3 reviewers providing probably different recommendations, we need to have a consolidated recommendation or consolidated summary of results. And the summary will be sent to me. The summary is collated by our managing editor. It would be sent to me as the editor-in-chief, and I review all the reviews, and then I decide whether the manuscript is, in general, based on the reviews provided by the peer reviewers, will be revised, will be rejected, or will be accepted. So I usually place the decision so that it is documented in a form we call editorial decision form. Okay. So from there, the editorial decision form is given to the managing editor, and the managing editor communicates all the consolidated review or the summary of the review, if any, okay, to the authors. And then after the communication with the author, we give authors some time to revise their manuscript. And after revision, we receive, of course, the um, revised manuscript, and we conduct the editorial review. Okay, so the editorial review still under the peer and external review. I usually communicate with the author, or the managing editor communicates for me, but I do the review. Okay, so the review portion in the editorial review mostly focuses on how the sentences are phrased, how the data are presented, the citations, etc. So these are parts of the editorial review. So it's more on the presentation of the article. If we have already polished the article, then we send out the manuscript to layout. Okay, and then from layout, we ask the authors to have it proofread, because, of course, the very first person who knows all about the terms and jargons of that particular manuscript is the author. Okay, after the proofreading from the author, it's again encoded and layout by the layout artist, okay, and then sent to me for the final proofreading, okay, before the publication. So after the publication, we still have other processes, okay, so that we can complete the entire journal process, okay. We ask our authors to evaluate our services. So in 2015, I crafted the evaluation of authors, okay, the instrument. I had it presented in the VP Mancom. So they provided several comments, and I also asked the associate editors to do the comments and provide some corrections if necessary. And so we have close to standard evaluation instrument for the authors. Okay. Every now and then we try to take a look at the instrument to see whether all the items there are still applicable to what we are doing. If not, then we do the revision, and then we follow all the protocols of DCMT in applying for revision for a form. Okay. So in 2020, we converted the form to Google Form. But the Google form is only an equivalent of the controlled form. Okay? Kasi ISO po tayo, so kailangan controlled siya. Yan. So that's one of the instruments that we have, and we need to have data from the authors using this instrument. Another, as I've mentioned, since we are following ISO procedures, we need to have an evaluation of the services extended by our external providers who are our external reviewers. So we provide, or we also conduct the review of reviewers. Okay, so after that, we do all analyses, and all analyses will be used in the improvement of the journal process, the website, the forms, and all. So it's basically a cycle, no? So taon-taon ganun po yung ginagawa namin. So that's the journal process. These are our forms. So we send out the commitment form after the initial review. If the author or the submission has passed all the required commitment form. After they send to us back the signed form, that's the time we initiate the peer review. Okay? We cannot engage our peer reviewers to a particular manuscript if the authors have not submitted the signed form. Okay? And then for our reviewers, we send them out emails together with the abstract and a request for a review of the particular manuscript. But then we ask them if they can do that in a particular time. So they are given a choice whether to reject or accept the review engagement, okay? And if they accept, if they are local authors, we send them out an engagement form, and in the engagement form, we identify the specific things that they would have as benefit of being a reviewer. The same goes to our international reviewers, okay? The only difference is that most of our local reviewers are provided some honorarium, okay, or honoraria or token. Our local reviewers who are based abroad and our international reviewers are given certificates of a review. Okay, they're not paid because in the international field, being a reviewer is a privilege, and it's actually an opportunity for you to be able to be of service to a journal or to a particular set of editorial team. Okay, so it's a prestige actually. Kaya hindi po natin sila binabayaran, no? So based on experience. Together with the engagement form, if they accept the review engagement, we send them out the peer review form. Okay. Again, all of these forms are controlled forms. So they were sent to the DCMT and they are stamped and they are, how do you call this one? Recorded, okay? So next would be our summary of results. So this would be the form that we use when we are already consolidating the peer review results. We have the editorial decision form. This is what I use when I send out my decision to the managing editor in regard whether to accept, reject, or ask the authors to revise a particular manuscript submitted after the peer review. Then in communicating all the results to the authors, we also make use of what we call the table of comments and actions taken. So this is one of the forms that we request the authors to submit together with the revised manuscript. And then another form that we have is the peer reviewers review form. Okay, the evaluation form for the authors, and we have the certificate of publication and the copyright form. So these are the different forms that we have. So in our Google Drive, you can see that these are the forms. And okay, so those are the forms. Siguro na mamaya na po natin tignan yung mga forms sa Drive. Okay, now we also do so that we maintain good readership. We also disseminate our published articles. So it's not only the responsibility of the research findings in a journal, in other media such as or other platforms such as in conferences. We also have to share that burden. One is it gives us a way to have better journal metric. Okay, so right now we have a high H index already for the journals that we are handling or managing. So again, these are the forms. Ayan, meron po tayong uncontrolled tsaka controlled as per ISO. Okay, so these are the forms that we have. And so let's look at one of the forms. Siguro ito yung commitment form natin. Yan po ang aming sample ng commitment form or template. There. And then here are the author names, the author's signature, and the contact details so that it would be easy for us to correspond with them. If there are no connections, nangyari na po yan ilang beses na sa university, no connections, we can contact them and through the journals and through Facebook or social media. Okay, so that's how one way of disseminating our research is to load them, of course, in our online journal system. So that's one of the things that we do, and we also added some features of the website. It gives us some counts or metric, and we usually monitor all those metrics. So ganito po ang itsura. Probably if you are familiar with our journal, then you can see that the articles do have some metric for downloads and views, ano? So for example, the normalize, post natin yung iba para di po ako makat ulit. Okay, so let's check that later on. It's still loading. Okay. We also have a way of sharing and disseminating the results of the particular manuscripts that we were able to publish in our Facebook page. So please like and share our Facebook page. Right now, we have 50 followers. So this is a good venue for them to be able to check also our manuscripts, you know. So what we do is every time that we have an issue, we try to load them also as our Facebook page. And right now, we are asking our authors to submit through the PNU SINAG project of the publication office. Okay, the PNU
Paumanin po, meron lamang technical na problema. Hello, ma'am? Nawawala po.
Ma'am Cheryl, parang nawala si Dr. Paz. Hintayin na lang siguro natin.
O, sige po. Sige.
Ay, back po ulit. So, pang ilang back ko na po ito. Okay, sorry. Ayan, so balik. Pasensya na. I really have a poor connection right now. So I think I'm still here. Tama ba?
Yes po, ma'am.
So as I was mentioning, one way of us to disseminate our published articles is through our publication office Facebook page. Okay, so the Facebook page has okay, thank you. So 15,600 of more. So it's a very good venue for us. So usually after an issue, we Facebook article, and then we lodge that particular post and form. This is our current issue.
Okay, I think I have the suggestion while we are waiting for Dr. Paz. You can just type your questions on the chat box para we could choose ano yung mga questions nyo later on while si Dr. Paz ay nag-ano ng kanyang connections.
Okay, thank you, Sir Rod. Sorry, again, a very poor connection. This one, let's say, for example, this one, awareness of Filipino graduate students. I cannot access actually. Anyway, we go back to that. So moving forward, this is our publication of this Facebook page. Okay. We also have some details on the Facebook page where we entice them to read the articles through our the PNUCNAG stands for interesting genre. Interest. So we asked our authors to send us or their publications to infographics or article. Okay, so then we load them as part of our postings in the Facebook page. So here are some examples. Sir Voltaire about his manuscript. One of the one. Okay, sana po hindi na tumakbo-disconnect. Okay, this one is a video, 3 to 5 minute video, where the author also presents his or her published article in the Normal Lights. Okay. So here are other ways of us disseminating our published issues. Okay. We do library product exchange through the SMEC. So SMEC is South Manila Education Consortium. We have a library component for that, and I asked Ma'am Helen to help me out in exchange of journals. We send sample journals to De La Salle, to all other members of the SMEC, and they also do the same. Okay, they place the journals that we give them in their libraries. We also print TNL as part of the corporate tokens by the university. I provide capability building to other HEIs, and through that, I am able to market our NAM and advertise our journal. And of course, an appeal to Normal Lights and all other journals in their syllabus or in teaching their graduate students. Hello po ulit. Okay, I am now in the source of funds. Yeah. Now, how do we source funds to be able to finance all the activities of education office? No, specifically hiring of contractual workers and everything. Okay. The source of funds before and now. In PNL is the journal of the university. Okay, it's the original journal of the university, and the funds for that from Ed 703 enrollment and Ed 804. So this is from the policies of the university before the 2015 policy that we have for the Normal Lights and the 2017 policy that we have for online access. Okay? Kwento po nito ay yung mga students po ng Ed 703 at Ed 803 noon, they pay a certain amount, I think it's 200, addition of the entire miscellaneous for their tuition fee or fees before they can access all the things in the university as a graduate student. Okay, so in these courses, when you enroll, the university gives a student a copy of the Normal Lights. Okay, so it's the practice for several years, from 2007, I think, until 2014. Okay, so I thought of having it online. Ibig sabihin, wala na. So yung print ay para na lang sa distribution offices. as corporate token and a document that we can have as evidence that we have the print material. Okay? Sayang kasi kung i-disregard natin ang print kasi meron po siyang ISBN. So what I did was to conceptualize a framework in a way to be able to entice all our graduate students, all our faculty to be able to approve the proposal. Okay, so ang ginawa ko ay ni-load ko muna siya sa isang local hosting. Ano? So what I did was really, how can I describe? First, I have to apply for a grant because the means and resources, hindi ako katulad nung editor-in-chief na na-invite nyo last time, that they are sourcing their pockets. Mahirap yon kasi we are in a government agency and everything has to be documented. So what I did was to have a local hosting first. I source everything as open source para wala pong bayad. And then I checked all the data privacy and everything. I tried to publish as many articles as possible so that I can check out all the indices of the different journals. So that's my way of benchmarking. Okay, so I tried to publish here, submit there. If they ask me to do reviews, I do I accept because it's also a way of taking a look at their journals and their website and their system, etc. Okay. So that's what I did. And then after some time, after a proposal of having everything online, nakaready po yung gagawin, ano? Only that I don't have researchers, I don't have manpower. So what we did in EPRDC back then, I think it's in 2015, 2014, 2015, I proposal, a PBRG. Okay, so the proposal is all about having research portal. So hindi lang po ito publication kasi hindi pa ako sa publication noon. I was only thinking about automating the research management system of PRDC. So that's my main task. But since what I sourced as an open source software also lives with or matches the processes of journal publication, I included the publication site. Okay? Pero hindi director noon. So we were given a good amount. I think that was 250,000 for design and everything for the research project. Okay, so after that, after completing the project, so meron na kaming good relationship ni Roxanne in terms of putting up the website, working very efficiently from me giving the content and him coding all the contents. Okay, so from there, after completing the PBRG, we were able to publish that, and then after completion and publication, transferred to publication office. Okay, that's the time I started taking a look at the entire publication office. And so what I did as an initial attempt in the PBRG is extended. Okay, so ginawa ulit namin yun ni Roxanne, kaya lang ito free na po kasi hindi na siya under ng project. Yan. So I provided all the content and Roxanne helped me out in all the coding and everything. If you're using the online journal system, PKP by PKP, it's very manageable. So hindi masyadong pagod si Roxanne because I can do all the tasks as the journal manager. Okay, and log in as a journal manager and do the coding and do the revisions and everything. Okay, so that's what we did. For the source of funds, since we did this part, I have already uploaded all the journal, all the archives and everything. Nandun na po lahat ng content. I presented a framework where instead of only the Ed 703 students benefiting from and the research articles, this will be giving the entire student populace the the opportunity to read all the published articles, and not only the current issue but back issues. Okay? Ibig sabihin, at their disposal, every day, 24/7 ang aking ginawang bargain with them. Okay, so I consulted the graduate council, student council then. They have a good fit on the framework that I have presented to them, but they have to still pay the 200, okay, but not only at 703 students, but all graduate students will have to pay. Okay? So, kailangan lang naman anong tawag doon? Ma-just no, sa kanila. Para saan yung 200 pesos in the first place? So, I was able to response from the graduate school and get positive response from the admin council, and finally a BOR in 2015 and in 2017. Okay, so i-source yung funds natin. Yan. First, this is an organization. So the money that we usually use, or the funds that we use for the application of a FERJ, is sourced from the fees that participants are providing the organization. For Aston is a separate organization, and they do have their own source of fund. And we source our fund in funding Aston publication from their funds. Okay. So ang talagang tinignan lang in terms of policy ay yung sa TNL. So this is BOR 2396 and 2662. It is very, very difficult to maintain journals and the entire publication unit, because we need Turnitin, etc. Okay, if we only have a source of fund coming from the graduate students, hindi kasi ganun kadami ang graduate students, ano? So we thought of another way of sourcing out some funds to be able to help out the entire publication office. That's the reason why we launched the online open monograph publication. Okay, that's the online commons, and we have placed a lot of materials there for our undergraduate students. Okay, so here our undergraduate students are paying a certain amount. I think it's 150. Okay, that's a very minimal amount per term. Okay. And right now it's not basically paid by our students, but it's the government. So our intention in the publication office is not only to provide our students with the corresponding services in terms of providing them with reading materials and literature materials and everything, giving them some other things that they can use specifically for online learning, research, etc. The reason why we are the unit yearly subscribing to the anti-plagiarism software, which is the Turnitin. Right now, it's embedded in our LMS, so every student in the university have an access to it. The bad thing is that we have not anticipated the pandemic in 2020, and so we only limited our purchase back then, before the pandemic, to 1,000 users. But our intention for this year is to include everyone. So we included a lot of slots. Okay, so we are trying to subscribe to 2,000 to 4,000 users. Yan, para at least covered lahat ng students natin sa Philippine Normal University. Okay, so that's our source of fund. Okay, the funding is placed in, you are familiar with this, what we call the projects, programs, and activities, or the POPs. Okay, and we have our OPCR, PPMP, etc. So we place it there. These are the things that we usually pay for. Okay, we have our communication, we have some Facebook boosting, we have domain and web hosting. We use the advice, although this was done before, we followed, hindi naman followed, we agreed to the advice of the editor-in-chief of Critica, I think, that the website of the publication office has to be a different website or dedicated to the unit. Okay, it's not basically connected to the entire university. Okay, so ganun ang ginawa po namin para at least may control kami kung kailan siya dapat palitan, ano ang kailangan palitan, etc. So the reason why we have domain and web hosting for the research portal and for the online commons. You would notice this is a very good amount of cash or a very good amount of funds. Noon po, nung nagsisimula kami, konti lang yan. In 3 years time, 10,000 lang po yon, no? Kaya lang, noon kasi, ang laman lang po ng ating mga journals at ng buong website ay konti pa lang. From 2015 until today, we have thousands of materials loaded in our site. We do not have the privilege of having a server because it would entail another personnel. So medyo mahirap po yon kasi marami nang nakalatag na term na task, yung web editor natin. So ibig sabihin, for me to be able to have a maintained server, I need to have another personnel. That would mean another account, or another amount of funds. So instead of doing that, we have an offshore hosting and offshore cloud. Okay? Yan. Ganun na lang po ang ginawa namin. So for Turnitin, hopefully Turnitin, but we have this as bidding kasi nga po umabot siya ng 1M. Yan. We have some design applications and yan. Ganyan po ang mga pinupondohan natin. Wala pa po dyan yung mismong printing kasi po nasa ibang part yun ng POPs. Printing ng hard copies at saka yung mga payments sa reviewers. Yeah. Okay, so for our online journal system, of course, some of the benefits that we can derive from an online system is that we get to have a wider reach. Our readers are from all over the world. We also have submissions from international authors. Okay, we have an online submission system, and the management of that would be a lot easier because you can automate. After submission, the editor-in-chief is not required to give a feedback. Instead, the system would give a feedback, automatic feedback. You can embed some metrics such as usage, views, and downloads, which are very important when you are trying to report the metrics or the standards of a journal. And you can easily configure if it's an open access or free access and so on. Okay. This is what we are using because of the following advantages that it has. It's not really good to have the paid one, although their system is very high. They require very high funds. Okay. So this is what we're using, the 2.4.8 right now, and we are planning to migrate to 3.3 later on, but we have to do the local hosting first before we do that. Okay, so ito po yung ginagamit namin. Still applicable to and compatible to the PHP 7.3 that our hosting is using in the website. This is a comparative images of hosting plans of PKP and the hosting plan that we have. Syempre, we have to follow the requirements of procurement. Yun ang medyo mahirap sa atin sa government agencies because we have to follow procurement policies, like we have to have canvases, etc. And of course, what I usually do is to meet with everyone, editors, and have this checklist with us and take a look at and review everything if they are still in order before we commence with the next publication cycle. And this is my publication team. This is Patricia, the web editor. Okay. Shena, our regular employee, Christine, our online commons administrator and our anti-plagiarism software administrator, and Nicole manages the 3 journals actually. Okay, And our associate editors, I have mentioned them a while and I have shown them to you a while ago. Okay. So I think this is my last slide. Yeah. Thank you very much. If you have questions po. So may I give back the floor to our MC, Ma'am Cheryl.
Maraming salamat po, Dr. Maripaz Morales, ang ating pong tagapanayam. Sa punto, naki-virtual tour po kami sa tatlong journals ng Philippine Normal University and the Normal Lives, Verge at Aston, at napakamabusisi po pala ang paglalathala. So ngayon, sa pagkakataong ito po ay bubuksan na siguro natin ang malayang talakayan. So meron na pong mga tanong kanina. Babasahin ko po ang nakalagay dito kanina sa chat box. Yung una po, ay, nauna pong tanong ay mula kay Ang una pong tanong ay mula kay Ma'am Claudine Alhambra. Ayon po sa kanya, thank you. Thank you po for sharing, Ma'am Marie. May also enlighten us regarding fees on indexing. I heard it is expensive, but how do you go about indexing fees in normal lives? Thank you.
Hello po, ma'am. Indexing po ba ang hindi ko po masyadong na-gets? Can you please repeat the question po? Huh?
Yung tanong po na galing kay Ma'am Claudine Alhambra, ito po yung sabi niya. Thank you for sharing, Ma'am Marie. May you also enlighten us regarding fees on indexing? I heard it is expensive, but how do you go about indexing fees in normal lives? Thank you.
Indexing po, as of now, there are no fees actually. If you submit your journal or subject the journal to indexing, application for indexing, there are no fees. ACI does not collect any fee. AGPCI does not collect any fee. Scopus, I have already gone through the different stages. They collect no fees. Only that if you apply for DOI and Crossref, you have to pay some fees. Pero hindi po sila indexing kasi, no? They are somewhat like an ability of or capability of other authors and other researchers to easily search your manuscripts given a particular number. Okay, so for indexing po, wala pong babayaran. Ang mahirap sa indexing ay pagkukolect ng lahat ng documents na kailangan nila for the indexing. One of the things that you have to satisfy is that you need to have a journal running for about 3 years, and that 3 years will need to have timely publication. So when you say timely publication, if you mentioned and published in the website that you have for the journal that you would be uploading and publishing an issue annually, and this has to be done every December for 3 years, you have to do that. Otherwise, if let's say 2019, 2020, December, you were able to upload an issue, and then 2021, you were not able to do that, you have to go back to square one, okay? Start ka ulit ng count, 2022, 23, 24. So, ganun po yun, okay? One of the requirements is that. Another requirement is that you need to have at least 14 articles published per year for that particular journal. So if you are publishing once a year or an annual publication, it would be a minimum for you to publish 14 articles. Okay. Next, there has to be at least 2 reviewers per article. Okay. It would be good if you have more than 2, and at least one of them would be an international reviewer. Okay. So that's another one. And the third one is that you have an open access, or you have a website where the indexing body would or can refer to when they are trying to investigate or how do I call that one? Take a look at some evidences of what you have submitted. Okay, so that's for indexing po. I hope that I have answered the question, Ma'am Claudine. Okay.
Okay po. Yung sunod po na tanong ay mula po kay Sir Veles June. Anya po, you said you were all alone when you started. How did you manage to do it and eventually have people to work with you?
Paano nga ba yun? I was handling a desk before, no? So parang kunento ko yung aking history. I was managing a desk at EPRDC. I man the proposal review and proposal development desk. After some time, I was transferred and assigned or appointed as the publication office director. And I have one secretary. So I have a secretary on job order basis, so contractual basis. So, paano ko ba ginawa? The thing is, I had a lot of experiences as an author. Okay, so being an author, I was able to had virtual tours to different journals. So nagkaroon ako ng pagkakataon na ma-check lahat ng kanilang mga websites, ganon, as an author. But then I was also given a task of being a peer reviewer. So nung naging peer reviewer ako, nasisilip ko yung kanilang journal system being a peer reviewer. But I don't have any idea of being an editor-in-chief kasi hindi ko pa yan nagagawa. No? I have a lot of reviews but not as an editor-in-chief, only a peer reviewer. Okay, and then what happened was, sabi nga nila, chaos and the dire need to be systematic and all, would lead you to some innovations, ano? Kasi ang hirap mag-isa ka lang doon sa office with your secretary, so dalawa lang actually kayo, no? And then you have to manage the journal. Isa pa lang naman, kaya lang dumadami nung nag-start na dumating yung Offerge, then dumating yung Aston. I need to have some systems in place so that one, the unit will be sustainable in a way because all the processes are in place, okay? Ibig sabihin, kahit mawala ako doon, running pa rin yung office. Hindi magsisimula sa scratch ulit yung papasok doon as the new director, okay? And then the next time, nung nagkaroon ako ng opportunity to attend a particular execom, okay? So I think Dr. Reyes was not around then. She asked me to sit as in place on her behalf. So during the time that we were chatting before the meeting, the president back then was Dr. Ojena. I asked whether they can provide me with additional technical assistant kasi medyo ang hirap kasi nga dalawa lang kami and then they already gave me the full responsibility of a purge. And so sabi, sumulat ako at na-approve naman. So I have a technical assistant. So tatlo na kami sa office, ano? Nung tatlo na kami, that's the time that we crafted the proposal for the online system. And then, kahit naman tatlo lang naman kami sa office, medyo marami tayong friends. Kaya, lapit dito kay friend number 1, friend number 2, inside and outside the university, I'm asking all my networks to help me out in the review, etc. So ako lang kasi lahat halos, no? I am the managing editor, I am the editor-in-chief, and everything else. And my secretary would do all the office jobs. Kasi iba yon, di ba? Like, you have to photocopy, you have to go to one office to another, you have to do incoming and outgoing of documents. Ganun ang trabaho ng aking staff. So, in terms of the managing of the publication, I mean the journals, it would be my responsibility. So, nung dumating yung aking technical assistant, so may help na ako, ano, na managing editor. I don't do the communication. Instead, with the authors, I do the communication with the peer reviewers. Ako naghahanap. So, ang ginagawa ko, I attend conferences, I go to or join organizations and council. Kaya ako napunta sa NRCP. Okay. Doon sa NRCP and all the other organizations, I ask the colleagues or our colleagues there to join me in peer reviewing, etc. Okay, so that's what I did. Okay? And then, nung na-approve yung BOR and the university is already starting collecting from our graduate students, etc., that's the time that I requested for additional staff. Remember, I have shown you a while ago the envision internal structure of the office. Okay? So, meron na ako talagang vision for the office noon. So, ang ginawa ko na lang ay finalo up ko yung proposal na yon at sinabi ko na kailangan ko ng additional na tao. The unit can pay for it because all the collections sourced from the policy that we have had approved by the BOR is a fiduciary fund. So when you say fiduciary fund, it's an STF. Ano ba ang STF? Savings from the university. But as a savings, it's dedicated to funding all the activities and processes of the publication office. Hindi katulad sa ibang unit na kapag may savings, it goes to the general fund and you fund all the activities of the university. In our case, it's not. It's fiduciary. So what we have is the fund, and all the funds is dedicated to funding all the journal processes or the publication office activities. Okay. So that's the time that I have a regular staff and 3 other more. Okay? Kasi syempre nawala na rin yung aking technical assistant. Ayun. So I have now, ilan na? 1, 2, 3, 4, and me. So 5 kami, okay, sa office. And then I wrote a lot of letters to a lot of colleagues in the international field and requested them to be part of the editorial board. So yes naman sila. Mabait naman siguro ako. Kaya sila nag-yes. And so we have an additional set of editorial board members. Ayan. So from time to time, I attend conferences and I ask more reviewers, okay, to join us. Yeah. So ganun po lumago yung aming unit. So medyo malaki-laki na yung unit natin ngayon. Right now, we increase the number of associate editors. Dati kasi 4 lang, ano? So we increase the number of associate editors so that we can also have associate editors for social sciences, Filipino, lalo na kasi marami po tayong submissions sa Filipino and I'm not very familiar with the genre. So, kailangan natin ng help from our colleague as our associate editor in Filipino. She also gives us suggestions and recommends new set of friends who are Filipino experts. So, ganun. Kaya lumalago. Parang networking lang ang peg, di ba? O, ganun po, Sir Vale, Sir June.
So, okay po, ma'am. Iba talaga pag pala kaibigan, ano. Ang sunod ko...
Friends.
Yung sunod ko na tanong ay parang follow-up dun po sa una, ang hinggil sa fund. Galing po ito, ma'am, kay Dr. Rodrigo Abenes, kay Sir.
Cheryl?
Yes po.
Ako na rin siguro ang magtatanong.
Sige po, Sir.
Hello po, Dr. Paz. Marami pong salamat sa paanyaya dun sa aming pag-anbigay po ng imbitasyon namin. Actually, I have so many questions. Hindi ko po kasi malaman kung ano yung itatanong ko kung ano. It's because right now we are still we come up with the idea of having this editors collective. It's because we wanted to take a look at the different models on how editors-in-chief, for example, manage the journal. So ngayon po, when we have a conversation, so nakita ko talaga yung pagmamanage ng kung paano based on our organizational structure. It's because sa Filosofiya, we are managing it with really parang napakaliit na fund. So kasi ay talagang kailangan income generating yung aming journal. And then sa Critique, it is run by the alumni and also some of the faculty members na halos dukot bulsa din ng mga nung mga editorial board. So, pag ang ano ko lang po, we are lucky enough, it's because with our LUKAD journal, napansin namin na we are not really starting from scratch. So kasi nga we have the different models from for example from the organizations in Filosofia and Critique, dahil sa mga kaibigan din po natin, and also we have also models from your office. So sa tingin niyo po, how do you, for example, kasi ang ngayon po, pinoproblema ko ngayon is with regards to funding. So, yung papaano yung funding namin next year. Kasi we initially have thought na pag online journal, medyo kaunti lang yung fund niya. And then sabi ko, next year, medyo kaunti lang pala. Pero sooner or later, lumalabas na po kasi yung mga technical aspect na kailangan pa pala na mag-add ng additional funding. It's because mga kailangan kasi lumalaki yung bandwidth o lumalaki din po yung server. So ngayon yun yung mga kailangan naming i-address. In your assessment kasi then also with regards to open journal management, yung binanggit po yung open software. So sa tingin niyo po ma'am, how much budget, particularly for example in our APP, yung kailangan ng isang journal na mailaan for a year. So para at least we could have it planned particularly on July. So para for proposal po namin sa next year na fiscal year na budget.
Sir, tingnan ko lang saglit yung aming PPMP para kasi sa PPMP namin naka-factor in kasi yung yung Turnitin, ang laking amount kasi noon, 'di ba? Tapos nandoon din yung payment for the whole year nung ating mga contractual. So sa amin din sinosource yun. So kung minus all of those, check ko lang po. Sir, baka may iba kang tanong habang hinahanap ko siya.
How about do sa associate editors? Kasi we have an in-house at saka ito po ang ginawa ko ay actually ang ginawa ko, we have Ma'am Cheryl, Ma'am Claudine, and also si Ma'am Joanna. Ito yung mga PhD, mga promising student, mga promising scholars po kasi itong mga to. Pero with regards to in-house, itong mga associate editors ba natin, merong mga NT load din sila sa PNU or
actually sir, doon sa BOR na pina-approve ko kasi, may approval na noon yung schedule of fees ng editorial team. So, minana ko na yon sir. So, mula nung umupo ako, meron na. Kaya lang, hindi kasi siya akma na dahil unang-una gusto ko nga magtipid. Ibig sabihin, gusto kong tanggalin agad yung amount na 15,000 per volume para sa editor-in-chief. So, ang ginawa natin ay in-embed ko as part ng task ng director na maging EIC. So, wala nang babayaran ngayon si Journal na 15,000 kasi part ng trabaho ko siya, di ba?
Yes,
so,
po.
isa yon. Pero yung pong associate editors, wala po talagang naka-indicate doon sa BOR and we are just following the BOR guidelines po na sila ay for NT. Nagkaroon lang ng ganun, sir, nung merong problem sa the K-12, where we are allowed to have faculty with NT. So nagkaroon ng chance na naging part ng publication office si Dr. Ancho. Okay, so siya ang managing editor noon ng Aston at Apurge. Kaya lang, nung wala na yun, sir, syempre hindi na pwede, no? Ang associate editors natin, as per the BOR, meron talaga silang fee. So, tinignan ko lang siya in terms of the other journals that I know and I benchmark kung magkano yung fees nila. So, doon ko lang din binase. So, yun sir, meron. But some journals would adopt no fees. Talagang service. Opo, kunwari sa journal namin sa NRCP, walang bayad kapag associate editor ka. Sin part yun ng being a member mo. Ganun siya. So, depende sir kung ano ang i-adopt ninyo. Anyway, kung hindi nyo susundin yung BOR, mas madali. Kasi i-declare nyo lang na free, di ba? Pag sinunod nyo naman yung BOR, maganda. Kasi nakasunod siya sa BOR at kapag hiningi ni COA ang mga evidences, mas madali kayo makaka-provide kasi nga naka-angkla siya sa isang policy. Ayun ang suggestion ko, sir, kung tungkol sa associate editors.
Pero Doc Paz, ito ba ay for example even kasi the reason why we have chosen na mga iba po din yung associate editors namin from different institutions. It's because when we are envisioning kasi that the LUKAD will be in 10 years maging Scopus din. So nakita namin, tiningnan agad namin yung requirements ng Scopus, and then yung requirement is that the editorial board should be from different geographical locations, different institutions. So tinitingnan po din namin yung para at least sabi ko from the start ay okay na siya. So applicable din ba yung BOR natin particularly with mga other associate editors from other universities?
Hindi sir, kasi magkaiba po ang ang sa Scopus sir, 'di ba, editorial board.
Yes,
Kaya ang definition na ginawa ng publication office editorial board, under editorial board may dalawang cluster. Meron po tayong advisory board at saka editorial team. Ang associate editors namin kasi sir, or natin sa TNL or sa publication office, talagang what do you call this one? Hands-on sila doon sa publication process hanggang doon sa reviewers review. Kaya sila ay local or within the university. Yung para masatisfy din namin yung nasa isa sa mga requirements ng Scopus indexing at saka ACI ay ang advisory board ang ginawa naming international, sir. Ganun ang ginawa namin, sir. Walang bayad po yun.
Mm-hmm.
Opo. Pero magkaiba sila ng task kasi yung associate editor natin, sir, talagang they are the ones preparing all the sometimes the initial review, they give us names of peer reviewers, they do the reviews of the reviewers, etc. Ganun, sir.
Pero sa amin po kasi Mampas ay ano rin po hindi local. From other universities din po yung nakuha namin ng mga ibang associate editors. So yun po yung and then right now we will be looking for other advisory board. So nandadagdag na lang po kami. So kaya sabi ko tinitingnan ko rin po yung model kung paano namin ma-adapt din yung BOR approved.
Yes sir. Opo. Pwede rin naman sir. Actually, mas maganda kung mas makakatipid, di ba? Yun naman usually ang ating purpose. So, kung sa tingin nyo, sir, yung definition nyo naman ng associate editor ay those who are satisfying yung requirement ng Scopus na kailangan from varied geographic areas, pwede naman, sir. At mangyayari nun, kasi wala naman tayong BOR for that, specifically to associate editors, mangyayari, free mangyayari ang ating transaction with them. Ano, sir?
Okay po. Thank you po, Dr. Paz.
Sir, hinahanap ko pa po yung PPMP nawawala. Ang tagal na kasi.
Okay po. Siguro punta muna tayo sa sunod na tanong, ma'am.
Sige po.
Sige po. Yung sunod po na tanong ay mula po kay Sir Nolly de Ramos. So ito po. We have submitted an article in the last quarter of 2018 and for initial review in February 2019. However, we have not submitted the revised manuscript for review and my co-author went back to TNU North Luzon. Can we still pursue and resubmit the said article until its completion? Thank you.
Hello po, Sir Nolly. Well, depende po ito kung kailan nyo na-collect yung data. If the data was collected 5 years or more, we cannot accept the submission. You need to provide us with an updated data.
Hello, Ma'am Paz. Good morning.
Yes po, Sir Nolly.
Ma'am Paz, we gathered the data in 2017. So, ay pasok pa naman po siya doon sa 5 years.
Okay.
Ang nangyari lang po kasi nung 2019, because I'm in full release during that time because of my dissertation writing. So kaya hindi ko nabigyan ng time yung submission namin, resubmission namin for the normal lights. Then si Ma'am Ganal bumalik sa North Luzon. So parang medyo nawala po kami doon sa ano. Ang tanong ko po ay pwede pa po ba kasi during that time nung nag-visit po ako sa Maine, sa PNU Maine, nagtanong ako doon sa publication office. Ang nabanggit nila sa akin ay i-resubmit lang daw po namin ulit. Then dadaanan na naman po ulit siya sa process. So
yes, sir. Kung hindi naman siya 5 years, kung hindi naman siya more than 5 years na yung data collection, i-resubmit lang po. And then, uulit po tayo sa process. I-initial review po ulit, etc. I would suggest, i-update mo muna siya, sir. Kasi, kunwari, iba na yung context ngayon.
Sige, ma'am. Opo. Yun nga po actually yung ano namin for i-contextualize namin ulit, then i-re-update namin yung mga ano po, mga informations doon po sa article po namin. Thank you, Ma'am Paz.
Okay po.
Okay po. So, ang sunod po na magtatanong, ma'am, si Sir Cacho. Sir?
Yes, ma'am. I don't need to show myself. Doc Paz, maraming salamat po.
Sir, hindi ko marinig, sir.
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear?
Hello po. Opo.
Yan. Sorry, ma'am. Okay. Hindi na ako papakita ng video para malakas yung data ko. Ma'am, ganito. We're looking at sustainability and I can see really that the PNU system has the asset at the moment. But currently, looking at the critical level, the asset revolves at the center. At ang nakita ko yung periphery, which are the campuses, are somehow at a disadvantaged position. Do we see a vision that sooner or later, the main campus or the publication will try to maybe connect with the campuses and try to maybe have a journal, its campus, as its recognized journal? Parang connected siya sa main. Like, for example, ang PNU Manila mayroong upwards, may normalites as its journals. So, makikita ba natin later in the future that the campuses will be having its own sort of journal representative as sister campus of, as recognized journal of the system? This is also one way of making more efficient in terms of sharing for resources, experts, also the assets. How instead of planning at the central level, meron ng maidali nating ma-revolves and ma-access. But of course, the campus will have its autonomy as to the area of expertise, area of journals that they would like to come up with. Do we see this kind of future in looking at forward-looking?
Sir, nung time pa ni, I think, Dr. Ojena, ayan ang vision. Kaya tinayo yung publications office. Para at tapos, nag-i-extend na I think it was the time of Ma'am Monte Alegre na as OIC noon, pero hindi pa tapos supposedly yung term ni Dr. Ojena noon na ini-encourage na yung mga campuses to come up with a journal. Ang sabi sa akin, they would be having some workshops like this para makapagtayo ng journals nila. And then later on, igagawing part ng publication office. Actually, talagang ganun supposedly, sir. Kaya lang medyo nahuli ng konti kasi nagkaroon ng ibang management and then nagka-pandemic lalo na, di ba, sir? Yun.
Unfortunately, PNU South Luzon is taking the initiative.
Yes po. And Mindanao. I am working with them, to set up the journal. Meron na silang journal. What they need to do is to bring it on the online system, at saka i-polish pa ng konti. Yun.
Wow. Looking forward, ma'am, for that future.
Opo,
Thank you
kasi
very much.
sayang naman may marami-rami yung funds doon and at least we can fund kung under siya nung publication office, 'di po ba?
Yep.
Ngayon kasi we cannot extend because it's a different campus, 'di ba? Although we are extending our anti-plagiarism, mga gano'n sir, okay lang 'yon kasi for the entire university naman 'yon.
And you're extending your expertise to us at the moment.
Opo, sige sir.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, ma'am. I greatly appreciate.
Ayun.
Okay. Sige ma'am, actually ma'am, mag-email na ako sa inyo, magre-request po kami ng mga documentation, mga forms na present nyo kanina so we can later adapt it.
Yes po. Kaya lang po, yun nga, ang fear ko doon, kung we will be adopting the forms and we will be under one unit, ang mangyayari po lahat ng policies applicable sa amin, applicable sa inyo.
Yes,
Ano po?
ma'am.
Opo.
Magkakaroon lang siya ng restriction because of human resource shortcomings or difficulties. Yung ibang rulings yun siguro matatrancute or may streamline kasi
Opo.
kulang nga po kami sa tao. Kaya nga ma'am, yun yung nakikita naming direction in the future, although mag-uunahan tayo sa Scopus.
Oo nga po. But the good thing is, opo,
Yes,
the good thing is it's under PNU lahat, di ba?
yes, the
Opo,
system. And the funding really is efficiently, and hindi ko naman sinasabing efficient, more efficiently and more generously, shared to the campuses.
Yes po.
Yes, ma'am.
Balikan ko lang po. Thank you, Sir Cacho.
Opo. Salamat po.
Opo. Balikan ko lang po yung tanong ni Sir Doc Rod. Na-compute ko na po, excluding the nasa 150,000 sir per year. Considering na konti pa lang yung laman ng inyong hosting.
Yes po, kasi sa ngayon 30,000 lang po yata yung budget na. So at least may magiging model na po kami ngayon, and siguro we can look at it particularly for next year na budget. Kasi sabi ko lumalaki na rin po talaga and then talaga hindi biro din talaga yung mag-manage. That's why kanina I'm conversing with Sir Ray. Sabi ko sooner or later inopen ni Sir Ray na magpa-adapt tayo sa main para at least, sabi ko nga sa comment ko rin ay it's a good thing as well. It's because may transferring din po kasi ng mentorship. So nakikita namin with your expertise, kasi ang worry din po namin sooner or later is that how about yung mga succession for the next generation. So
yes po, mahirap nga talaga. Ako din po naghahanap eh.
Opo. Yun din po yung amin kasi sa ngayon kahit na we are starting, yun na po agad yung tinitingnan din namin so that the journal itself will be sustainable.
Sir Rod, ganito ang nangyari sa EPRDC and Publication Office. The research portal was developed using a project grant, di po ba, yung PBRG. So I was the one in charge of managing the program. Natapos namin and all, and right now they're also using the research portal. Pero ang funding po or ang source of fund ng hosting nun at domain name ay publication officers. Ang ginawa namin, sumulat sa akin si Dr. David. Sabi ko gumawa kami ng memorandum of understanding na every year kami ang magfi-finance noon. Baka gusto ninyo, ganun ang gawin natin. And then we link your website to our website.
Yes po. Kasi naging proposal din po ni Dr. David yun. Kasi syempre, it is maganda rin po kasi na the LUKAD, all of the journals as well of the campuses will be linked also in our website. So pero sabi nga, medyo tinitingnan din po namin yung problema kasi ang worry din po namin if it will be, kasi syempre the management itself has something to do with, meron ding technical aspect na yung IT management na ang gusto rin sana namin ay since Sir Ray is also expert on the technical aspect ng managing the IT part. So iniisip din po kasi namin syempre yung worry na for example si Sir Roxanne ang dami niya nang ginagawa and etc. So sana sabi ko mas maganda na i-manage din namin yung IT part. Pero nabanggit nga po ni Sir Do na sabi pwedeng i-link. So tinitingnan din po namin yung possibility na yan, and it's a good thing kasi we are learning really from your experiences. Nasabi ko maililink namin din sooner or later pag natapos na rin po namin talaga yung journal, and we outsource actually po yung journal. Meron kaming na-outsource na gumawa nun And then ito turn over na lang po sa amin siguro by this end ng April. And then Sir Ray will be the one who will be in charge. And then sooner or later, we will be requesting for the linking in our PNU website.
Yes, sir. Sige po.
Din, bakit mo sinabi magre-request tayo ng PBRG para funding para doon? Just kidding. I love the model, Sir Dr. Paz, nung ginawa nyo na nag-PBRG muna kayo, then nung nandiyan na yung platform, saka nyo siya sinustain. That's another ma'am, interesting way. Ngayon ko lang nalaman na ganun pala yun. Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, sir, kasi walang pera. Alam mo naman sa atin, bawal lang dukot bulsa, 'di ba? Kasi maraming mga anomalyang makikita.
Yes, ma'am, ang pera ay nasa research, ma'am, sa university.
Opo. Kaya
Yes.
kailangan nasa papel lahat.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So yun din po yung nakita kong difference actually nung pinadala sa akin ni Sir Rod, yung mga videos, link to the videos. I was listening to the presentation of the two editors at yun nga, ang nakita ko, malaking difference sa atin kasi tayo ay government agency. So marami tayong proseso na medyo iba sa kanila. No?
Ma'am, question lang as to procedure ng government. Ang publication office po ba natin, have we tried partnering with private entity and coming up with a issue or something na partner within private? And how did you come up with it? Or you're still planning to do it?
Sa ngayon, sir, ay wala pa. Kasi
Okay.
kadalasan, education kasi tayo, sir. Kaya
Okay.
medyo malabo yung industry na titingin na partner with us. Pero ang tinitingnan namin last time ay a FERJ. Kasi yun ay multidisciplinary. We were starting before the pandemic, kaya lang nagka-pandemic, sir, kaya hindi namin naituloy.
Yes,
Sana PUP and one company that they are joint with.
Okay. Sige po. Ma'am Cheryl, wala na akong tanong. Baka si
Okay
Dean Rod
po.
meron pa. Thank you, ma'am. Doc Bar, salamat po.
Okay po. Salamat po, sir. Siguro wala na bang tanong? Meron pa po bang tanong? Sa chat box natin, wala na. Wala na siguro.
Pero yung journal nyo maganda, sir. Kaya maganda sana kung ganon.
Hello po.
Hello po? Yes po.
So,
Narinig po ba ako?
sana po, ma'am, no, na maging ganun din po ang LUKAD journal sa main, sa normal life. So, sa punto po ito,
Malapit
siguro,
yan, madam.
sana po. So, sa punto po ito, siguro wala nang tanong. Proceed na po ba tayo sa certificate? So, sa punto pong ito, bilang pagkilala, maraming salamat po, ma'am, sa pagsagot sa mga tanong. So, sa punto pong ito, bilang pagkilala po sa kahusayan ng ating tagapanayam, Dr. Maripaz E. Morales, isa pong sertipiko ang ating igagawad. So, ang sertipiko po ay bilang pagkilala sa kahusayan po ng ating tagapanayam. Bago po nito, pwede po ba muna nating pakibukas po? Ito na po. Okay, so ito po ang sertipiko. Hayaan niyo po akong basahin ang nakasulat dito. Philippine Normal University, South Luzon, the National Center for Teacher Education, the Technology and Livelihood Education Hub. This certificate of recognition is hereby awarded to Maripaz E. Morales, PhD, for her invaluable service as the resource speaker during the LUKAD Research and Journal Management Capability Workshop Series 2021. Editors Collective on Journal Management, the Normal Lights Model. Posted by Philippine Normal University, South Luzon on April 14, 2021 via Zoom application. Given this 14th day of April 2021, signed, Ruel B. Avila, Ed.D., PhD, Executive Director and Provost PNU South Luzon. So, maraming salamat po ma'am. Pwede po bang bigyan po natin ng isang virtual na palakpakan si Dr. Morales? At bago po nito ma'am, pwede po bang pakibukas muna na ating mga video para po magkaroon tayo ng picture taking kasama po ang ating tagapanayam.
Sana mayroon akong naitulong sa inyo.
Marami po ma'am. Salamat po sa lahat
Marami,
ng
ma'am,
tulong.
marami.
Marami po. Okay, so magkakaroon po muna tayo ma'am ng picture taking. Kasama po kayo. Sir Josh?
Para yatang nasa meeting si Sir Josh, ako na lang.
Sir, ikaw na lang, sir.
Oh, sige, sige.
So, nanatili po tayo nakasmile, nakangiti po, para po makapture ng camera.
Okay po. Sige po.
Alipas po.
Sige po. 1, 2, 3. Isa pa po. Ilan ba tayo? Meron pa ba? Okay na po pala. Isa pa para at least meron pang isang angle na tayo. Sige, 1, 2, 3. Sige, Ma'am She, okay na po.
Okay po. Maraming salamat po sa inyo, Ma'am Dr. Morales. Maraming salamat po. At para sa formal na pagtatapos ng webinar na ito, narito po ang Director ng Student Affairs, PNU South Luzon, Dr. Amor F. Luniza. Bigyan po natin ng virtual na palakpakan.
Thank you so much sa ating magaling na MC, Miss Cheryl. To our Executive Director and Provost, Dr. Ruel V. Avila. To the Dean for Academics and TLE, Dr. Rodrigo D. Abines. To the Co-Editor-in-Chief of the LUKAD Journal, Professor Reynald M. Cacho. To our partner in LUKAD series, the Graduate Student Council of PNU Manila. To all the participants, good morning. Again, we are concluding another series of LUKAD Journal Management Workshop. Professor Reynald M. Cacho, the LUKAD Journal Co-Editor-in-Chief, gave us a brief background of the program in his opening remarks. It was followed by the introduction of our guest speaker. And as Ms. Claudine introduced our guest speaker, we were amazed by her accomplishment. It was indeed a very inspiring achievement when it comes to research journal. Dr. Maripaz Morales, our guest speaker, gave some backgrounds on journal management. She cited important events relevant to the operation and development of the university's journal publication office, specifically the Normal Lights. She also took us to a virtual tour on how the journal publication office operates through its official website. Furthermore, she also enumerated the responsibilities and roles of the editors and the reviewers, likewise the journal management procedures. Additionally, she shared the sources of funds that they used for the journal operations expenses. Though there was minimal technical problems, it was still a very productive discussion. Thank you so much to our guest speaker, Dr. Maripaz Morales, for your precious time and effort. A fruitful question and answer was done through the facilitation of our MC. Our speaker was very accommodating in entertaining by her clear and informative response. With this, congratulations to everyone and thank you so much to your participation. God bless us all and stay safe, everyone.
Maraming salamat po, Dr. Lamiza. At dyan po nagtatapos ang ating webinar. Muli po, marami pong salamat sa lahat ng mga kalahok, sa ating pong tagapanayam, at nawa po ay manatili pong tayong ligtas sa ating mga tahanan. So, mabuhay po tayong lahat. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat po, Dr. Paz.
Thank you rin po. Maraming salamat. Kung may mga questions pa po, pa-email na lang po or Sir Rod, Sir Cacho. Thank you.
Thank you po.